Hello, everyone. Welcome to Good Journeys Tarot. I am going to be talking about the Five of Cups today, and I will be also sharing with you the card that has been drawn for this coming week to study. And I'm hoping that I'm going to learn a lot, and I'm going to finally fill in the gaps in the deck that I've been working on for several years by studying each card individually and trying to relate them to my personal journey. And so before we get started, a couple of things. One is that I'm currently trying to find a planner for 2022. I use my planner for a variety of things, and for the last couple of years, I have created my own planner using a blank one. Um, and it was based on the 2018 or 2019. I think it was 2019 Metaphysician's Day Planner by Annabelle Wynn. And because some of the things in her planner I used, some I didn't. So the ones that I did, I incorporated in my own planner. In 2022, I'd like to learn more about astrology. And so I've been considering working with the Magic of I. And no one seems to be sharing their thoughts on how useful it was to them for learning more about astrology. And mostly people just walk you through what's in the planner on their videos and whatnot. So if you've had any experience with that planner, or you have other astrological planners that you think will be educational in nature, please do share that with me in the comments. And also, if you have things that you would be interested in seeing Nina from Shuffle Tarot and I talk about in an upcoming live, please do put those questions in the comments as well, so that we can put together the very best possible live for us. Since we are on opposite sides of the planet, this will probably be later in the evening for people here in the US, on the East Coast especially, and early in the morning for those of you on the other side of the world. Such as Australia, where she is at. Another thing that I'd love your help with is, if you're watching these videos and you haven't been able to make the lives, is let me know good times for you for lives, because I would like some interaction with my audience. I think I will grow and learn from that interaction, and it'll make these videos a lot more fun. I tend to try to do them between 11 and 4 on Sundays, Eastern time, simply because that gives me time to sleep in the morning, and it gives me time to wind down at night for work the next day. And so I did vary it a little bit the last couple of weeks, and I'm looking to see what the results may be there. I know today I'm conflicting with a video that I usually would be watching. And so this will probably be pretty brief, not just because of that, but because also I don't have as much to say about this card, I think, as the High Priestess, which was a major arcana card last week. So with that being said, let's jump in. Let's talk about the Five of Cups. So normally, this card is viewed as the card of loss, of disappointment, of regret, those types of things. In the Crowley card, you'll see a river flowing under a bridge. On the opposite side is a castle, and there are 5 cups. 3 are overturned. The idea here being that this person has a goal, and that goal has been hampered, in this case, perhaps by the river that's in their way, and the overturned cups expressing their disappointment. I mean, you're going to see there that 2 of the liquids are red, and the other is kind of this beigey brown color. Historically, in the Christian mysticism which went into these cards, this would be the blood and water from Christ's pierced body on the cross. But there is also this bridge, as well as the 2 unturned cups, which remind us that things are not always as bad as they look. And So these are all ideas and images that I wanted in my own tarot card as I was working on it this week. But before we look at it, let's look at cards from a couple of other decks. This is from the Steampunk Tarot. You may have seen it on Instagram this week. There are, again, the 3 overturned cups as well as 2 unturned cups. It's a little bothersome to me that there are actually 8 cups in this if you look closely enough, but the 5 are a specific color tone, right, to separate them out. This is not the only deck which uses a this type of symbolism of a person drinking and being depressed. So we'll look at that again in a moment. This is the Happy Tarot. I love this idea of crying over spilt milk. In this case, milk that is ice cream or yogurt. It's just really cute. And here is a card without persons represented, where there are 3 bowls or cups that have been broken and the liquid is flowing out of them, and 2 which are still in use. And you'll see there the reference of the moon. And to me, this kind of gives the idea that we're maybe deluding ourselves, or there's an illusion to the situation. It's not all bad. There's still some good there. Let's also look at some cards from my personal collection. And window, oh, here we go. I shared this image earlier in the week of cards in my collection that I love. And this is the Bonestone and Earthflesh Tarot with the elephant here. This is a beautiful concept of elephants mourning their loss. And that loss, while it is strong at first, over time will subside, though as we think about these things again and again, we're reminded of that loss. I love the depiction of the shattered cups here. The woman's lost her beautiful china. And then the in the Slow Tarot. And then over here in the Ellis deck, we have a mermaid with 3 overturned cups, very much RWS inspired there, but the mermaid being the symbol of water in that particular deck. Again, here we see someone drinking. This is the Modern Love Tarot, so obviously a relationship has ended and they're drowning their sorrows. But again, it gives the idea that there are possibilities for the future. And finally, we have here the Light Seers Tarot. This is a beautiful image depicting someone who is, again, melancholy as they watch things flow away from them. And yet there are those things which remain. So now that we've looked at all of these cards, let's talk more about the card that I have created and after my study and all of the meaning that I've personally wanted to see in the card. I actually posted 2 versions of this card on Instagram this week, but I've continued to work on it over time to expand upon it and make it more personal. This is one of those cards that I had no idea going into my study this week what I wanted it to depict. I've never really had a problem with the RWS imagery. I think it's fantastic. I do think it could be updated a little bit. You'll see here I've used a figure in a hoodie, which is also depicted in the This Might Hurt. My original idea was to put this person in a trench coat, but I could not find a image that I liked that was publicly available with a trench coat. So that's something I may revisit in the future. And I've changed some other things here to make it personal. We still have our bridge, the flowing water that is getting in the way. This is, for me personally, that time in my life where I lost my career. I had been a minister for 13 years, and then I came out. And so I had to totally start over. And so for me, this was the regret and the grief that I felt over that ending of that part of my life, which is depicted here in the spilling of the blood, sweat, and tears in the various wine and beer bottles. And but there again is that hope that of getting what we want out of life. There is a bridge over the troubled waters to our destination. There is this element of water here on the right of the card, a way past probably that dehydration from all of the drinking, right? And so there is a way to get to where we're headed, and where I headed was at that time a city where I felt I would be more accepted and welcomed, which I've depicted here by adding the little pride flag on the city. This card is called the Lord of Loss and Pleasure in the Golden Dawn tradition. It is associated with the fives, which are all about change and uncertainty, as well as water, which is about your emotions. It is related to Mars and Scorpio, which is basically an emotional obsession. So we are dwelling on the past, so to speak. It denotes melancholy and disappointment and self-pity, fretting over our past decisions, all things which at that time in my life were prevalent. Now, this card is interesting in that the shadow aspects of it could be in two very different directions. One is the completely refusal of noticing a way out of your grief or your loss. The other is accepting that grief and loss and moving towards recovery and forgiveness. And so when we look at it in reverse, so to speak, it could mean two very different things depending on the cards that are surrounding it. Is it an improvement? Is it a way out, so to speak? Or is it that we're just failing to see that? It is very easy in life to see the glass half full or half empty, as the case may be for the pessimist. Often we'll put that blood, sweat, and tears towards our plans or our relationships only to fail. And dwelling on that failure creates guilt and can cause us to dwell on that past. When we cry over that spilt milk, gratitude is the means that will get us past that loss and that grief. Here, the castle, or in my case, the city, is our goal. The bridge is our way out. The river is our obstacle. We have the spilled bottles or cups, which are our wasted effort, the metaphorical ending of one thing, and the upright bottles or cups, which are the good that remains, the support of others even. When we look at this card, it's important to consider, is this situation that we have loss and grief over our fault, or is it the result of something that someone else did? Because that's going to be important in our resolution of this situation. So in my video title, I called this the Five of Vessels. This is one of those things that I have debated about as I have been working on creating my own tarot cards for my own personal education and experience. Do you stick to the traditional suits, or do you make them more accessible? Some card decks have chosen to go the route of elements, so it would be the Five of Water. Some have chosen to change it to Five of Vessels, Five of Chalices, which chalices are just another word for cups, really. my thought was that I wanted to be able to use anything that was a container for liquid, whether it was a vase, a bowl, a cup, a bottle in this case. And so that's why I'm leaning towards calling it the Five of Vessels versus the Five of Cups. But I'm not sure that that really matters in the larger scheme of things, unless we make it so different that we need the name of the card on the deck. As you can see here, I didn't put the name of the card. I actually just used the designation as indicated in the Rider-Waite-Smith version, which is just the number, with the suit being represented here by the bottles. Hindsight's 2020, and perhaps I want to actually put the names of the cards on them if I'm going to not use the same element, i.e. the cup or the bottle in every card. I do like the idea of sticking closely to the traditional naming of the cards. Some decks really confuse me when they change them drastically. Like I have a deck that's buttons, needles, and I forget the other ones now because they're not a traditional word for the suits. But then there are others I've seen where they have seashells, or they have starfish, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes it's hard for me to connect those with the traditional suits. And so I want to kind of stick with the traditional, but expand it if I can. And so that's the thought that went into that. I hope that you've gotten something out of this video. I know for me, just studying the card and creating it and relating it to a time in my life has made the card more meaningful and more personal. So next week, I have drawn the Justice card. This should be an interesting one to study this week, as it is associated with Libra, which is my astrological sign in the sun. And so look forward to that next week, seeing on Instagram my various studies and investigation into this card. And then on next Sunday, another live about the card meaning and what I ended up creating for myself as a version of that card. Thank you for being here and watching this on replay. Until next time, good journeys.